What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Files podcast, where we talk about our favorite fantasy series and topics. We are your co-hosts, Spencer, Gabe, and for the first time as an official co-host, Mick. Today, we'll be chatting about Will Wight's series Cradle, books 1 through 8, with probably more of a focus on, I would assume, like the 8th book, Wintersteel, maybe a little bit of the 7th book.
Yeah, 7 and 8.
Yeah. And man, I'll be honest, at this point in the day, I've had a couple glasses of wine. So it's gonna get real weird. As always, subscribing and liking helps the channel a ton, and we also have our Twitter, Discord, and now Patreon linked below in the description. So here's the thing. I can't imagine that this past week we've read much more than Cradle, because we met last week to talk about Frugal Wizards.
Secret Project. Yeah.
At that point, we had talked about stuff we had been reading, but then this last week, unless you have anything, Gabe, I think for Mick and I, it's just been Cradle.
I do.
Okay.
I do have something.
Right.
Yeah. So I told Spencer this too. Mick, you probably know, but I've read Cradle maybe 6 times, 7 times, like all the way through every book. And so I'm very well versed in what's going on. There was a couple parts that like I read up on, but I basically didn't read anything except for book 8.
Okay.
And so prior to that, I'm on book 13 of Galaxy's Edge.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I'm
making progress.
Yes, I'm just burning through it, and it is so freaking cool, dude. It just gets crazier and crazier and cooler. So I'm excited, Spencer, for you to whenever you do it to start getting through it, because it's really awesome.
Dude, I am so excited to get back into Galaxy's Edge, especially with like you going through it and telling me like, yeah, some of our favorite characters come back.
Yep.
And they're there, and because that's what I was worried about. I was like,
I
was like, what if those characters just don't come back?
No, they do. And there's a couple times, like there's like a book or two where you won't see them, but it's all really important setup for when you do.
Okay.
You just got to stick it out. But there's a couple big bads that show up, and it's awesome.
Nice. Are you on one of the ones that's labeled like KTF?
So I'm KTF 1 right now. Yeah, the first part of KTF. Dude, so that's book 6 of season 2.
Okay, cool. When I saw that title, I was like, oh, I bet that's like the big finale.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, KTF is like the
it's their motto.
Yeah, it's like their motto.
Like the Legion's motto, kill them first, is what they say.
Yeah.
You know?
And
it's
KTF
always Legion.
Yeah, and it's always used in like a really like dramatic way. And so like for the last 2 books to be KTF part 1 and part 2, it's like, oh, I bet this is gonna be sick.
Super cool.
So that's really cool. I'm really excited to get back into Galaxy's Edge. I'm glad you're liking that. Yeah, other than that, I haven't read anything besides Cradle. Honestly, I was cramming all week just to get through.
I tried to get him to play video games with me last night, and I fall asleep at like 11:30, and I see a text at 2 a.m. He's like, "Wait, what happened with this in the book?" I was like, oh my gosh, he's really going for it.
He's still going. Yeah. The plan was to finish the books by end of the day Friday, but then it kind of went on into Saturday. Saturday started and I hadn't even started book 8. Matter of fact, I think I was finishing the last like 30 minutes of book 7. And so all day Saturday was just Wintersteel all day, like nonstop. And I actually, the thing I regret about doing it that way is that I had to read it so fast that I actually had to use like a plot summary along with it. So like I did listen to the whole book, but like as I'm going through each chapter, I'm also kind of looking at a plot summary to like kind of reinitialize, you know, what happened in that chapter and just kind of make sure it's totally clicking. And that was a really hard way to read it. I definitely don't recommend that to anybody. But yeah, so anyway, we've been reading Cradle. Mick, has it just been Cradle for you?
Yeah, pretty much. I read a few chapters of Dead House Gates, book 2 in Malazan, but I've been just pretty much focusing on Cradle. I just started Wintersteel last week when we were doing the Frugal Wizards handbook, and currently I'm just over halfway through book 10 at the minute, so making progress.
Nice.
And
okay.
Loving it.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll talk more about those in a minute. Guys, this is your spoiler warning. We are going to be talking about books 1 through 8. We won't be spoiling anything past Wintersteel. So if you've read up to Wintersteel, then you're good. If you haven't, you might want to dip out now because, like I said, everything's getting spoiled. This is your spoiler warning in 3, 2, 1. You've been warned. All right, guys. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts because I think that here's the thing. I like the series. I don't want anyone to think that I don't like the series. I am enjoying the series. I'm going to completely finish the series. But I'm probably not as high on it as you guys are. So I would love to hear your guys's general thoughts on these first 8 books, and just kind of like what you liked about them.
Go ahead, Mick. You go first.
I think for me, the main thing is just it's probably the most fun I've had reading a series.
Wow.
It's just each book is just completely wild. I love the kind of progression fantasy side of it, leveling up, growing up playing video games. I liked how that's kind of a similar style with the progression fantasy. And I just everything new that pops up, everything to do with the magic system is just like, oh, I can't believe they're actually able to do this kind of thing. It's just so much fun. I just absolutely love it. And then you've got kind of the bigger plot in the background with the Abaddon and the monarchs and stuff like that. And at the start, it was pretty hard to understand what was going on there, but as the series progresses, you can see more of how, at least I think, it's going to play into the ending of the series. So yeah, just the main thing, just such a fun, wild ride. Each book is just crazy, fast paced and full of action. I just love it.
Nice. Yeah, it is kind of like a skill tree, right? Like the magic system, like you mentioned video games, and it is kind of like the skill tree that they're working their way down, like, oh, I got this new ability and this one and kind of upgraded this previous one, and that is really fun.
Yeah, that was really well said, Mick. I completely and utterly agree with everything you just said. Yeah, I think the probably what I like the most is the progression part of everything. That's here. Characters are like here. World building's like here. Like it's all really high up for me. I really enjoy it all. In my opinion, 1 through 8, you're just starting the party.
Yeah.
And so like I cannot wait for you, Mick, especially if you keep reading these before Spencer, you and I have to talk.
Okay. Yeah.
Like without him, because I cannot. I've just been itching at the bit to talk to somebody about the next book. So yeah, I'm excited for you guys to check it out.
And how many is there now? Is there 13?
There's 11.
11. Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
So you got Bloodlines. Bloodlines is 9, Reapers 10, and then Dread Gods is 11. And that's there's going to be one more to wrap up the series. We don't know when. But yeah, there's only 3 in front of you right now.
Okay, that's not bad.
I think it's the 1st of June. I think the final book is out.
Oh, see, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, so honestly, I am liking it so far. I agree with probably a lot of what Mick said. I think that it's mostly just like fun. Like I feel like it doesn't go as deep for me, especially with the characters, as a lot of other series do. But it is something where like you can put it on and it feels like you're watching like an anime or something. And it's just like, high intensity action, really crazy magic and abilities, and just kind of the different like hierarchy, like all the monarchs and stuff. They're so just kind of like mysterious. And I think something I like is like from the beginning when he's in Sacred Valley, someone being a jade seems so high. Like it seems like it's the peak of, sacred art. And then you keep going, you're like, oh dude, like Jade is nothing.
Yeah,
Jade
exactly,
is
dude.
literally
Yes.
nothing. And then as it keeps going, it's like, oh, like where they're at now, it's like, oh, gold is nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, dude. Exactly.
Yeah.
even like true gold is nothing. And it's like, man, it's so crazy to see your kind of perspective shift as like, did you guys ever play the video game? It was like one of those flash video games where like you're you start out as like a small fish in the ocean and you eat like the smaller things and then you get bigger and like you see these big things and they seem so big to you, and but then when you get bigger you're eating them.
Yep.
That's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine like when Lyndon gets to like Monarch or something, how small an overlord is going to look to him. And I think that is really cool. I think that is written really well in a way where like you feel that through Will Wight's writing, that he like purposely planned it this way, and you're meant to feel that way. So I think that's really cool. I think the issues that I'm having with the series, and I don't even want to say like it's not even like an issue where it's like, oh, this is like a bad book or anything. It's just something that's not quite working for
everybody's
me.
got gripes, dude. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Is I think the character, not all the characters, but especially the main protagonist, Lyndon. I just really do not like him as a main character, like at all. And I feel like, and you know, that's hard because I find myself like connecting more with like the side characters, and I enjoy like Yaren's chapters way more than I enjoy Lyndon's, or like I
Yeah.
enjoy like Ethan's chapters way more than Lyndon's. And I just wish that Lyndon had like a little bit more personality to him. It even gets addressed in books 7 and 8, where I think it's Mercy who's asking him like, do you have any like hobbies, or do you do anything
Yeah, and he's like,
besides like Sacred Arts?
I advanced. That's it.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I just train. And she's like, you have to like get a hobby.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I just do magic. And it's so frustrating because you even get I think it's Mercy again in the not second book, in Wintersteel, where they're like talking about Yaren. He's like, oh yeah, Yaren is great. Like we advance together and we train together, and she's always super excited about like the sacred arts. And Mercy is like, but what do you like about her? Like what? Like do you have any other things in common? And he's like, well, I don't know. We just do magic together. And I kind of likened it to, I was thinking about this yesterday. It would be like if you were really into like World of Warcraft or some other like online game, and you met some sort of significant other on there, and then you met up in the real world, and you go on a date and all you talk about is World of Warcraft. It's like, do you like how weird would that be? And that's exactly how I feel about Lyndon's like entire character. And I just wish that he had something other than the sacred arts. And the redeeming factor is that at the beginning of the series, I was like, he does not care about anybody. He doesn't care about any of his friends. Like he would, like at the beginning of the series, I genuinely felt like he would, sell Yaren into slavery if it meant, gaining one more level or whatever. And now it feels like, okay, he does have like real connections. He does have real friends. He has people that he cares about that are like with him and are on his side, and he's on their side. And like, it feels like there's some genuineness there. I don't know if that's a word, but at the beginning, I did not feel that way. So I'm glad to see that kind of like progression take place in his character, and I'm interested to see how I end up feeling about him by the end of the series.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I wouldn't necessarily, personally, I wouldn't say I find, say, Lyndon his character boring, but I would agree that he's probably the most boring character in the series, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So yeah, I wonder, Gabe, what's it like going back and like reading those first few books again? Like, can you see that more of a change in Lyndon, or?
Absolutely.
It's a good
Yeah.
question.
Yep. So after reading the entire series, yeah, it was very not challenging, but it was very kind of demeaning to read his character through the first four, because he was just very slow and just very different and super, there was no growth. Like he was just this kid that came out of nowhere that learned that he could become powerful. He's like, that's all I fucking care about, dude. Like I don't, just like you said, I'll sell you into slavery. I don't care.
Yeah.
Give me the gold. But finishing the series, I will just say really quick that his motives, and I'm talking about like the next, before you guys finish, like it hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah.
But his motives they don't change, but you see a lot more of kind of a lot more personality come out in him, I guess. That's not just
real side
becoming stronger. Like his motives change.
Okay.
Yeah.
To something greater than just powering up, and that makes a big difference. But yeah, I've definitely, I totally agree with you guys.
Okay.
Reading to book 8, I absolutely agree with you guys.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
One thing I do love is the supporting characters. I would love to talk about
Ethan, dude. This is my favorite character of all time, dude. Ethan is my favorite character.
Dude, Ethan is so great. Awesome. And I think probably like one of the after Wintersteel, like one of my new like kind of like more favorite characters is Fury. And
Akira Fury, yes.
Oh yeah.
Dude. Absolutely.
And I felt like he was almost like a cooler Ethan.
Yeah.
He's like a cooler but like way more powerful Ethan.
Yeah. And like he was just like, there was so many times I wish I could remember like specific quotes and stuff, but there was so many moments where he would come into a scene and he just had that like Ethan energy where it's like nothing like, really matters. I'm just
man?
here
like oh, you just killed him? Oh, cool, dude.
Yeah.
Let me just fly away again.
Yeah. There was some great moments. He had a great was it him? I think it was him who was like they were all kind of picking teams, and or was it him or North Strider who is like, who do you want for your team? He's like, I'm either gonna pick I'm either gonna pick Mercy or Pride. You guys fight it out, and then he just like jumps away.
He doesn't
even care.
That was Fury. Yeah, that was Fury.
I like that scene because it was just like, one of these two, they'll figure it out, and he just like goes away.
Super happy go lucky.
That's awesome. And so I liked him a lot. I love Ethan. He's definitely one of my favorites. Yaren definitely became
Yaren's awesome.
Probably Yaren is probably like my favorite character up to this point after Wintersteel. I loved everything that she went through with her Blood Shadow, and just like all the stuff that she's kind of had to endure. And I think I like her character a lot. And then we have characters like Dross and Little Blue.
Yep.
And they are just like my favorite companions.
Dude, I know. It's like having like a dog companion, dude. It's like right up my alley.
Yeah.
Dross is amazing.
Dude, a lot of the humor in this book doesn't quite land for me, but Dross, like, every time he's on screen, I legitimately laugh out loud just because he says the stupidest shit, and it always just lands so well. And then of course Little Blue is just super cute. Like, it's just a super cute little companion.
Yep.
Any thoughts on some of the supporting characters?
I think Yaren is probably, I think she's the best like written character, like her actual progression through the story, like her background, what she struggles with and stuff like that with her Blood Shadow, with losing her master, stuff like that. I think her kind of arc is probably the best formed in the series. And obviously Ethan is, I think he's probably everyone's favorite character in the series. He's just, I just want literally a whole book just dedicated to knowing what he knows, because I was like, just give a straight answer for once and just tell us what's going on, or how you know any of this. But
Yeah.
so that's the main thing I'm looking forward to as the story progresses, just seeing how he like plans around this story, because I'm not sure what book it is. Is it Uncrowned? Or let me see, which book is it? Oh no, it's Skysworn back in book 4. He like
Yeah.
tells Lyndon about his plans
That's
for when
right.
they all ascend, and I'm like, at the time I was like, what the hell does that even mean? But now I'm
Yeah.
just like, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I want to know. Like he's actually thought that far ahead, and he has these big plans. I just want to know them now.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested to see Gabe, to the point where you've read, do you know a lot more about Ethan?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I thought for a while there was going to be a betrayal coming, and I thought it was going to happen at the tournament.
Mm.
And I thought that he was going to be like cuz it seemed like there was a couple scenes, and I think that one in Sky Sworn might have been one of them, but there was a couple scenes where it almost alluded to him having some sort of plan that was going on in the background that the reader and Lyndon and all of them weren't aware of. And so I thought that maybe it was going to be kind of like this twist at some point, but I don't think it's going that way now. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely interested to learn more about him and just kind of what
Book
his deal what his deal
book book
is.
book 10 is where you figure out his end game.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
Yeah.
nice. In book 8, did we find out why he never progressed to Overlord? Because he didn't want to make somebody mad or threaten somebody? Was that the reason?
Yeah. Yep. So when they all went for their training, Yaren went to the winter place, and then Ethan went back to the Sage of a Thousand Eyes, and
Yeah,
then he just walked into a room and advanced to Overlord. And
right.
he's like, the reason why is he doesn't want to give away his hand. He doesn't want people to know what he's capable of.
Yeah,
And so he
Yeah.
was like trying to wait or whatever, and he decided, okay, I can do this now. Lyndon's gonna be upset, but they'll get there soon.
yeah.
And so yeah, he's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve for sure.
Right. Okay. And I thought it was interesting too. And this is a question for you guys if you've kind of found the answer to this in your reading. Um so it seems like for most of the people in this world, it can take like 20 years just to go from like, underlord to overlord or whatever.
Or
But
even
like,
from low gold to true gold can take 20 years,
Mm,
30
yeah.
years. Yeah.
yeah.
And then you have like Lyndon and Yaren who like every couple of months are just getting a new rank.
Hmm.
And it's even mentioned in either book 7 or 8 that advancing too fast can be bad for you.
Yes.
And so I'm
Hmm.
wondering like why are they I mean, I guess we know why they're advancing that fast because they're trying to, save the world in the end. But why is it okay for Lyndon and Yaren to be like advancing this quick and yet other people take 20 years? But then you also see someone like Ethan, who's like he squaring off against Yaren or like sparring against her, and he like vastly outmatched her, even though they were both Underlord,
Hmm.
and he was like way more powerful than an Underlord should be, and so it's like, could you be like the highest is the highest point of gold true gold?
Yeah.
Um, like could you be a true gold but still be so powerful that you could take on an Underlord?
Yeah. So I think that the answer is yes to that question. There would be a lot of extenuating circumstances that would have to happen for that to be aware. Because the reason why they can advance so fast, in my opinion, from what I've read, is because they have the support to do so. They've got they've got the diamond veins, they've got elixirs, they've got pills they can take, they've got other, Madra engines that they can absorb, stuff like that, which enables you to like be able to go as fast as they do. But they talk about a couple times, I can't remember which faction it is, but there's a or true gold. It even says like this true gold has got so much experience and so much skill and so many years as a true gold that he could be a match for an underlord easily.
Hmm.
Like he could totally fight this guy because the Underlord's only been
Right.
him for 3 months, but he's been True Gold for, 15 years. Like he knows what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
I
it's like one rank above, you have a chance. Like if you're skilled,
Yeah.
2 ranks above, there's just you could be a brand new overlord, and you just flick a True Gold, and he would die.
Okay.
Yeah. I also wonder if, I don't know if, like, maybe it gets revealed in the future books, I'm not sure, but if like the fate and like the Abaddon and that kind of stuff does play an effect on it, and like that they're kind of chosen to become these great warriors, and that's why they have kind of such an easy time to progress. But it's probably also the same way there are some people who just can't get good at, say, I don't know, riding a bike like the first time. Some people will be able to just straight away be
Yep.
able to do that kind of thing. Some
Yes.
people just take a lot longer. That's just a kind of
Exactly.
natural thing, I
Yep.
suppose.
And that's it. Exactly.
Just so happens that these people are just all really good at it.
Super talented. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. The has Fate been introduced yet? Where we're at, or at least where I'm at the end of book 8.
So I think it's been hinted to. You'll hear the monarchs have talked about it. Fate is like seeing kind of into the future, or seeing the way, like, there's some oracles that can see fate, like the Sage of 1,000 Eyes. That's her thing, is seeing into fate and seeing kind of
Okay.
what might happen. But it's not. You won't get a ton of that until the next couple books.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then the main story, I think, probably like the biggest hook for me so far is just knowing, from the first book we see this vision where, the gold comes down, destroys Sacred Valley, and then Serial kind of rewinds all of that, and then um she tells Lyndon about like the dread god that's coming, and shows him like all these different things that could happen in the future.
And that right there is fate. That's her looking into fate. So it's like
Yeah.
it's not
Okay.
perfect. It's just her seeing these
Okay.
possible things that could happen. That's what fate is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest hook for me so far, is kind of seeing all these things that like could happen, and like what the end game of this whole thing could be. And so I think that's kind of like the biggest hook for me. Like I'm not, like, even though there's characters I love and stuff like that, I'm not like super attached to like the cast as a whole, but it is kind of the idea of like this big, not apocalyptic, I don't want to be dramatic, but like this big, like just like this big event that could happen in the future. And that's got me so interested that that's what I keep pushing on for.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so as far as like the main story is concerned, I think that that's kind of the hook for me. Have we seen, where I'm at, have we seen any of her visions come to pass? Like she shows him like the red-haired girl that was like a really good swordswoman, and I think he mentions her in book 8, like he gets a glimpse of her, but I don't think we've actually seen that room yet, right? Where they're in the same room together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We do get to see, what is it, is the cloud, the 9 cloud
Oh,
monarch.
yeah.
Yep.
That's
9 Cloud
how
Court. The 9 Cloud Queen. Yeah.
Lyndon knows she's actually a monarch, kind of in disguise during
Exactly.
the tournament,
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. So that
That
was her. That was her. The girl he was saying is
So
really a monk.
yeah. So that's
Yes.
Shah Minara or something. I don't know how to say
Shadanyara, yeah.
something, but yeah. So
Okay.
her yeah. I think originally when he was showed the vision, and I might be wrong, but the Queen of the 9 Cloud Court passed down her legacy through the power that Ethan talks about. That's a power to, like, she can transfer all of her power to somebody else, and so she gives it to her daughter, and then her daughter is now the queen. 15 years old. She's the queen of the 9 Cloud Court, but she poses as an underlord for the tournament.
Right. Yeah. So speaking of which, can somebody please explain the family tree that is the is it the Akura clan or whatever?
Akura clan, yeah.
Because
oh yeah,
he
I got
would
it.
say,
It's
like,
complicated.
dude, I could not follow. Like, I have no idea how
So,
anybody is
dude,
related to anybody.
you just have to, yeah, you have to throw out your thoughts on mating habits, because it does not add up.
Is it like Targaryen, where they're all like
It could be. We never really find out. We know that Malice, and then you got Fury, which is Malice's son, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mercy, who's also Malice's daughter, but then the Sage. Help me out here.
Charity,
who's like it's confusing because Charity is like her granddaughter. It's really weird, dude.
Yeah,
they call her aunt, don't they?
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
like
Charity.
that, yeah.
That's what Mercy calls her. But Mercy is technically above her in the Mercy's like she says it. Oh gosh,
So
yeah, it's confusing, dude.
Are they all like hundreds of years old or
Yes.
what?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Including Mercy?
No, not Mercy. But Malice is thousands of years old.
See, okay, so then that leads to my other question,
Okay.
because before I finish my last thought, I guess, because Lyndon was like, yeah, like she's her aunt, but also like her great niece or whatever. I'm like, how the fuck does that work?
Yeah.
But then also, how does aging work in this world? If you get to a certain point, like if you get to a certain level, do you just live forever or what?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the further you progress, the less kind
Absolutely.
of aging takes effect on you.
Yeah, so exactly. So monarchs could theoretically live forever until they ascend, which is, up to Abaddon. That's the goal.
Right. Okay. And did we see any ascension at the end of Wintersteel? I'm trying to remember because
so
they gave him an ultimatum, right?
Yeah, you might have to. Well, oh gosh, you guys haven't.
Do you remember, Mick?
I do know the answer, but I don't. It hasn't happened at the end of Wintersteel, no.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
But you will see it soon.
Yes.
Okay. So would you guys call this a soft or a hard magic system? Because I really can't tell, because there is times where I'm like, I have no fucking idea what the rules are. And then there's other times where it seems like, okay, like you get to this point and you can do this, and like there are rules, but then sometimes it's like, here's this random seed that you can eat that'll give you more Madra. And I'm like, he just pulled that out of his ass like some Deus Ex Machina shit. I'm like, what?
Dude, so I would say that the magic system, without any add-ons, without the seeds or anything, is hard magic.
Okay.
There's very much written rules on what you need to do to rank up, the way you need to think to rank up, what you need to achieve to rank up. But then there's also, like you said, there's cheats. You could take it, and Zeal talks about it when they're in when they're in Ghostwater. He's like, I could have given you a pill that would take you from low gold to true gold in 3 seconds. Like,
wow, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's I'd say it's a hard magic system with exceptions.
Okay, that's fair. What do you think, Beck?
I would say it's a semi.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with Gabe there. The actual like progression and the possibilities of what you can do with the magic is definitely reminiscent of a hard magic style. And then you got those other things that kind of, I know sometimes they can appear kind of just to pop up out of nowhere, that kind of make it seem a bit more softer and more kind of a just you can do anything kind of a thing. But I would say it's maybe 60-40 towards hard magic in my eyes.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Nice. All right, the last question I have in our kind of general talk here is, why doesn't Sacred Valley send their young to the schools on the peaks around them? Is this anything you guys have kind of thought about? Like, Sacred Valley seems so insular, and it's like you could send your students to become golds if you just send them like to the school up the hill, but they all stay in the town.
Well, so first of all, I think that Sacred Valley and the clans in and of itself are super very diluted, in the sense that like we are it. Nobody else can help us. Like, we're the ones that will get each other up there. And so they refuse to do stuff like that because of that reason. And then my other thought, which I don't know if this is true, I could be totally way off. Like, I kind of feel like they ignore all that other crap because they're happy with, the hierarchy that they're in.
Right. Okay.
And so I feel like they just put that out of their mind. We don't need that. We got our own thing. We're kind of doing our own thing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I think you definitely see that a lot in like Lyndon's dad. He's very like focused on
Yes.
like we don't need kind of anyone else. We're the clan, our own clan, the
Yeah.
we clan. We just need to worry about ourselves, not worry about anyone else kind of thing. But it's just they have absolutely no idea about the actual
Exactly.
grand
Yeah.
scale of the world. Like
They think that they are the peak of what sacred arts can become. Jade is
yeah,
the highest up there for them.
yeah,
They have no clue about the rest of it.
yeah.
And that's because they seclude themselves.
So
They absolutely will not travel. They ignore every outsider. Like we're it.
so that's my question then is did they not see the school right on the hill, like right near them?
Well, so I think the school on the hill near them is still part of Sacred Valley, and so it's
Hmm.
just because there's several schools within Sacred Valley.
Okay.
They're all only Jade capable, pretty much. And
Yeah.
the next book, I don't know if you know what happens in the next, or maybe even slightly, Mick, but the next book, you see why that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
There's like
Bloodlines is my
there's like one school on each mountain, isn't it?
exactly. There's this,
Yeah.
there's the school of Weeping, whatever, and they have their own clan and they do their own training, and then they fight with the other schools on this side, but it's all within Sacred Valley.
Okay.
Yeah, but the next book, Bloodlines, is by far my favorite of the entire series. And
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah.
yes, hands down.
I
Okay.
think as well they're kind of the schools themselves are very particular in who they let join
Yeah.
too, because isn't that what the tournament in the very first book where Cyril comes down, isn't
Yeah,
that to
exactly.
gain entry
Yep.
to the school? So
Yep. Deciding which way
Right.
you'll go. You can
Okay.
go to the
yeah,
enforcer school or the, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Okay. Okay. I remember that now.
yeah. Man, I can't wait to read book one again because that I was enjoying it, and then when Cyril came down and did that whole rewind time and the flashback, that was
Yeah.
like I was like,
You're like, what
whoa,
the heck is
that
going
Yeah.
this
on?
just took a step up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you know, though, it is cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was interesting because that is the scene that kept me going. If that scene hadn't happened, I probably would have wanted to not keep
Well, then I'm so
reading.
glad that it
Yeah.
happened because
yeah,
Cuz
I
like,
was I was so happy to hear that you're gonna finish it when we
yeah.
started this podcast. I've
Oh
been
yeah.
terrified. I've been scared shitless
Yeah.
that you were not gonna finish it, dude. Really like frightened.
No, I definitely have my complaints, but I think that I want at this point I want to know what
Yeah.
happens. So
yeah.
that's kind of what's driving
Awesome.
me
Awesome.
forward.
Awesome.
All right, so let's talk about. I mean, I guess we can talk about like Uncrowned and Wintersteel in a little more detail. I don't have too much to say about them specifically, and I think Mick, you had mentioned that this is where the series kind of like really picked up for you. Would you agree? I thought you said something about that in your review.
Yeah, there was definitely, it's kind of like there's stages where it's like the first two books are kind of they're okay, and then Black Flame takes that step up, and then
Mm,
Sky Sworn and
Yep.
Ghostwater again they're kind of a good level, and then Uncrowned takes a step up,
And then
or sorry,
winter still.
Underlord, yeah,
Yeah.
and then Uncrowned and Wintersteel, they seem to just take a step up every book kind of from now. But
Yeah.
yeah, Uncrowned was, I think it might have been Underlord, maybe that I said where he took the kind of progression that he learned in Ghostwater and actually put it to use in Underlord and
Yeah.
seeing how he progressed there. So yeah, that was kind of since Underlord, I think every book has just been up and up and up. Yeah.
Awesome.
nice. Yeah, I think for me, Underlord was probably like my least favorite so far, just because like
Mm.
I kept thinking that Underlord, I kept waiting for the tournament, and
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
You texted me a couple times and you were like confused
yeah, I
in a
was
way.
like I at this point I could not tell you what happened in
Yeah.
Underlord. Like I
Yeah.
do not I do not remember what
Basically just
happened in Underlord
training for
whatsoever.
the tournament, dude. That's like what it
Right.
was. It was just
Yeah.
challenges and training to become able to be in the tournament.
And I think that was one of my biggest complaints for the series is that like the tournament was cool because there's actual like plot happening and like things are taking place and we're seeing like tangible pieces of the story coming together. But in books like Underlord and even Ghostwater, like I liked Ghostwater because that's like where he met Dross and stuff, and it was just kind of fun seeing him do all that stuff. But even that, it was like, okay, he's training and he's training and he's training and he's training for like 6 books. And I was just like, I'm glad that Uncrowned took the turn that it did, because if it hadn't, I would have been like, I don't know if I can keep going, because like there was like a certain level of enjoyment up to that point, but mostly just like a certain level of like tolerance, where I was just like, he's just training. Like I feel like he's in a video game and he's just grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding. And that it drove me nuts for Underlord. I remember that. And like I said, I don't remember exactly what happens in Underlord.
Yeah.
But I remember just being like, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
Dude, oh my gosh. The next 3 books are the payoff. If the first 8 were the training, the next 3 are the payoff.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And that's also why I'm excited to go on, is because I've heard that from like numerous amounts of people, that they're like, there is a payoff, like you have to go through all this grind and then you kind of get to like these last few books, and it really does pay off. So definitely excited to get on to the next ones.
Yeah, I can confirm I'm halfway through book 10. I
Oh,
don't think
awesome, dude.
I don't think Lyndon has trained once since the end of Wintersteel, so.
Oh.
Yes. Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I didn't know that you
Yeah.
kept reading on. That's awesome, dude.
Oh, yeah.
When you finish book 10, I need your phone number. We have to talk. Seriously, I'm
perfect,
serious. Give me your cell phone number. It's
Will
gonna
do.
happen.
All right, so then this weird thing happened in Uncrowned. Can somebody explain this? Northstrider comes in and decides to just like take over the tournament, and the, what do they call it? The 8-man kingdom, or the
8-man empire.
8-man empire. They just hand it over to him. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why? Like, what?
So
why would you not be like, no, this is our tournament?
So Northstrider is one of the more powerful monarchs because and I think it's because of the consume ability that we see, right? He has unlimited power. He can continue growing, whereas the Amen Empire is a power, but that's split between 8 people. Like it's 8 people that are a monarch, right? So individually they're not so crazy. And so
they all make up one monarch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And
exactly,
so I think that Northstrider is kind of like this roaming secret monarch that everybody hints about and talks about. And that even like Malice, doesn't fear him, but she respects him because of how powerful he is. So when he comes in and says, I'm gonna do this, they're like, the fight's not worth it. Like go ahead, you can do this. And he does a good job. It's not like he fucks anything up. Like he does, it's important for the story. And so I think that's fair. I think he has the power and the right to do that.
Yeah, that sounds right to me. I loved that he kind of came in, and I liked the kind of rules he put in place, and then the twist of giving them the pairs who are going to fight each other and then changing it.
Tricking
it. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, me neither.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I guess in this world, is it kind of like, if I am bigger than you, like you automatically have to do what I say?
So I don't think that's it. I think there's a lot of politics that go into the way that because a monarch, there's what 8 or 6 monarchs or something like that. But the monarchs they're the most powerful beings in this planet. They are the most powerful. And so like, let's say if he was to come up and say like, hey, I want to do this thing, and a monarch was to challenge him, their fight could be like world ending. You know what I mean? Like it would destroy everything if they were to fight. So I think they just they're like, all right, it's not worth killing hundreds of thousands of people to challenge him.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're all like, because Malice could do something like that, and people would say, all right, Malice is freaking powerful. Like I don't. It's okay if she does this. It's not hurting me. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I loved the big fight between Yaren and Lyndon. That was so awesome. I messaged Mick after I read that, and I was like, dude, this fight was so good. And I was like, it reminded me a lot of something from like Sword Art Online. I'm like, and then Mick was like, well, what's that? So I told him about Sword Art Online.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And dude, one of these times, the next time where you have like a little bit more time, I would love to show you just like one scene from Sword Art Online where they fight like this big boss. It's kind of like the first big boss they fight. And like if you like that scene, then you will like Sword Art Online.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought it was just like the coolest. It was the coolest fight between them, and like at first he like didn't want to hurt her, and then she like pushes him a little bit, and they just go all out. And
yeah. When they make the decision to actually like let go of their stuff and just fight to the death, it's so cool, dude. That was like, besides the fight, that moment when they both like realized like, no, we're gonna do this, is like the coolest part.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I loved like the final thing where they're like both coming down at each other, and they both have like a huge smile on their face. Like as they're like, they both know that they're about to land like the final strike, and they're just grinning from ear to ear.
So awesome.
Like that's such a cool scene, dude. Yeah, that was really well written.
Did you guys find it hard during the tournament to like keep track exactly of who was part of what team and who was the leader of that team and stuff, or the herald or monarch and stuff like that? Or what's the difference between a gold dragon and a black dragon and stuff like that?
I think originally I did, reading it several times, no. But that makes sense, right? Like, but yes, I think originally it was, there's no way that it couldn't be confusing, because there's so many different factions and species of fighters. I'd be surprised if you couldn't do that.
Yeah, I had an extremely difficult time with it, to the point where like the ending where everybody's fighting, I was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just gonna have to kind of see what the aftermath is, because I don't know. Like, I kind of know who these people are, but I don't know like whose team anyone is on.
Yeah.
And I've had this problem with not only this series, but a couple other ones that I've read, like some of Rob J. Hayes's stuff. And I have a hard time with like Asian inspired fantasy, because I cannot understand like any of the names. Like for some reason, like the Asian inspired names just don't like click in my brain.
That's fair. Totally.
And I can't keep track of them. And so like it feels like there's so many characters that are named like similar things, and they're not, but just like in my, like Western, like American brain, like I'm just not used to hearing, those kind of names. And so I just can't keep track of them at all. And so throughout the tournament, I was like, fuck, dude. I'm like, I know that Lyndon is on the team with Mercy and Pride, right? They were on a team together.
And Mercy, Pride, and Yeren was on theirs too. They're all fighters for Kuro Malice.
But wait, Yeren and Lyndon weren't on the same team though.
Oh, okay.
Mercy and Ethan and Yeren.
Yeah.
They were on one team.
Yes.
Okay, so Lyndon with Pride and someone else?
Yeah, Narusea.
Yeah, Narusea. So she's a Skysworn.
The Emperor's sister, isn't it?
Emperor's sister, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is hard to keep track of.
Yeah, it is.
And
that was in the first couple tournament bouts were those teams.
Okay.
Well, they stick out. I feel like it's obviously easier to remember as you get further, because there's less people, right? That makes sense.
Right.
But yes, Mick is totally right.
Okay. So, dude, I do not remember Narusea at all. Does she make it to the end with Lyndon?
No. She gets knocked down like the second round or something.
Yep. Okay. Well, yeah, it was pretty hard to keep track of just like the tournament.
Oh yeah,
in general.
it is. Yeah.
But yeah,
I definitely get what you say about the names, like because they have like the surname first. And then the first name, and even some of the names like Xiaomiara and Sofara and
Raygon
all
Shen.
that kind of thing.
Dude, Shen, all of those people. Yeah, those were the exact names that I had trouble with. And it was even hard in like the Greenbone saga, honestly. Like the Greenbone saga was a little bit easier because I feel like you have names that stand out a little bit more, like
But still, it's the same
Kilo
thing.
and
It's
Shay. But it's
yeah, but it's Hall. You know, it's or
yeah,
Call whatever their stuff
Call,
was
yeah,
first. Yeah,
Call
Call
Hilo
Hilo,
and
Call
Call
Shay.
and
Yeah.
you know, I would have the same trouble with those. But yeah, Lyndon really surprised me when he lost. And
Lost to Yaren.
Yeah. And I think this is just like a note from my phone here or something when I like in the moment. But I was like, what's he gonna do? I thought that he needed to win the tournament. So I wonder what the fallout is gonna be, because his what do you call it? The person who is like in charge of his team was Charity, right?
Well, so yeah. So he is fighting for Akura Malice. And Charity was the one that was so their banner is the Malice banner.
Okay.
Her, Yaren, Ethan, all them were fighting for Malice or Akura.
Okay.
But Charity was the one that was kind of advising him, I guess. But she's also advising Mercy and Yaren and those other people too.
So Yaren is under the same banner that
Yaren's under
Lyndon
the
is.
same banner, and so their goal they want to. I think their goal is to save the Black Flame Empire, because they're worried now that if somebody else wins, they'll get that arrow, and they'll kill whoever might be, and the Black Flame Empire will die due to that.
Right.
And so that's why they're fighting, I think, among other things. But yeah, they're all part of the same team, just in different parts.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Lyndon's team was technically the Black Flame team.
Yeah.
But it was still kind of a sub team of the Akura clan entry, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so going forward, are Lyndon and Yaren and Ethan, are they all on their own again, or are they still under this? Like, have they kind of been adopted into the Akura family?
No, yeah. So yeah, so yep, they're all doing their own thing still together.
Okay.
After
cool.
They got free reign again, kind of.
Yep.
Okay, that's good.
And it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you've actually. I seriously did not think that you'd read past 8. I'm so happy to hear that you're on 10, dude.
I
are you gonna go all the way through? Finish it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I should probably finish. Is it Dread God is 11?
Dread God's 11, yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably finish that. Have that finished by next weekend.
Awesome, dude. Yeah. We gotta talk.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So then at the end of the book, we get some interesting facts about Northstrider. We get some like backstory on him.
Yeah.
And he was bought in a dude, when it said this, I rewound it and I was like, wait, what the fuck did you say? It was like Northstrider was bought in a pod of 100 orphans as slave soldiers for some guy. And I was like, wait, whoa, that's like super grimdark. Like he just bought in like this dude just bought like a bulk buy of like slave orphans and brought them to his compound and turned them into soldiers. And and then he goes off to like fight a dragon. He hunts something underwater and levels up kind of that way, and then he finds like this big like black dragon or something and rips its Madra out and advances to Monarch.
He absorbs it and then does the transition.
Yeah, that was wild. That whole backstory was
it's
crazy.
the only instance that we see of an advance to Monarch in the whole series.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay.
I love those little kind of flashbacks where it's like data requested, denied.
Yeah. So that's part of fate too. So the Abaddon all have a presence, and so like so Northstrider's little black thing, that is like kind of a downgraded form of the presence. And so when you hear that said, it's a presence requesting data from fate.
Okay. So it's like I kind of figured it was some sort of like internet thing for like higher for the higher ups.
Yeah.
And that's kind of interesting too. Well, I'll bring that up in final thoughts. I'd like to talk about the Abaddon in final thoughts.
Yeah.
But yeah, the then we get some Abaddons showing up in the tournament, and they bring this arrowhead, and I thought the arrowhead was was really cool. It was kind of another like Deus Ex Machina thing where it's like, oh, this will let you kill like any one person. But the fact that it was like a gift from an Abaddon, like, yeah, it's like some future tech that's like from outside the world. And so I thought, I don't know, I just like the whole idea behind the arrowhead.
Yep.
Do
I agree.
we find out in Wintersteel like who actually wanted to give that as the prize? Because I know the guy, is it the Hound or something?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Hound, yeah.
The Hound comes down and like presents it, but do we find out who actually?
So this is not a spoiler, but Machiel is the leader of the Hounds in the
Oh, okay.
Abaddon. His name's
Yeah, yeah.
Machiel. And
Okay.
so it was definitely him. I don't think it comes up again. I don't think we ever really know, but it was him for sure. And of course it's really just to stir up strife. You know, it's
Yeah.
to stir up people's lives and to make stuff happen quicker. That's Abaddon's goal. They want people to ascend as fast as possible, so they'll do whatever it takes for that to happen. Whether that's, you know,
Okay.
making this
Yeah.
crazy awesome item as a goal to make people powerful, they'll do it.
So they're wanting people to get into the
They
Abaddon
need
space.
people to ascend. That's what they want. They're
Okay.
yeah. They need them to ascend.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, going into Wintersteel here, I have a note here that says I was lost for the majority of this book, but I don't think that I was, because
Awesome.
after like finishing it and thinking about it, and like I looked back at the plot summary. There's like a quick plot summary, and then there's like a detailed one. And after looking back at the quick one, I was like, oh yeah, okay, I remember
Yeah.
all this stuff that happened. So
Mm.
I think maybe I was lost in the moment, but upon reflection, I'm like, okay, I get it. But seriously, you know, I read this whole book in one day, in
Yeah.
like almost one sitting. Like it was
Yep.
playing nonstop all day Saturday.
Wow.
Even on even on 1.75 speed, it was a 9-hour audiobook. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it was
It's the
definitely,
longest one, I think, isn't
Yep.
it?
yeah,
It is.
it was definitely the longest one so far, because all the other ones, even at like 1.5 speed, were all like 5 hours. And so yeah, it was definitely the longest one. And so doing it in that whole sitting, I was pretty much like, I went out and did a couple things during the day, but for the most part, I was at home, and I had, while I was listening to it, I had a plot summary in front of me, and I was kind of going through the plot summary as I
Yeah.
read it to kind of digest everything a little bit better. And I want to give a shout out to blackforestbasilisks.com, because they have really, really good plot summaries. Like I said, they have like a short one that you can read in like 4 or 5 minutes that just gives you like the basic like overarching plot for the book, and all the way to the end, and kind of, it's spoilery, it tells you everything that happens. And then they have like a detailed one that's like scene by scene, and
That's cool.
it
Yeah.
breaks down everything that happens in like
Nice.
maybe like 3 or 4 sentences per scene. So big shout out to them for that, because that helped a lot. There was a lot of like atrocious spelling errors, but you know, you can still understand
Yep.
what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, I think I used that too when because I went back over the first couple of books just because it was so long ago since I read those ones, and
Yeah.
it was really helpful.
Dude, it was hard to remember what happened for the first like I remember Ghostwater, but everything before that is just kind of like vague memories. Like I can't remember at all what happened in the second book, besides Lyndon and Yaren kind of getting out of Heaven's Glory. And then the third book, the third Black Flame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember Lyndon getting the Black Flame, and I think that's where he gets Orthos, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So like I remember that, but then like yeah, I don't remember at all what happened in book 4, because 5 was Ghostwater, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really, really hard to remember what happened the first few books, but I think my plan has kind of been like, just listen to the books, even if you don't understand it, just get through it, so that you can get like the big picture idea of what's going on. get to the end and then do a reread where like Gabe has done basically, where like you know how it all kind of ends up to the point where it's at.
Yeah.
And you can kind of go back through and get some of the finer details. And so I think that this will probably be something that I just have to like read through, and then at some point just do a reread with the kind of information that I have from the end.
Fair enough.
So question, why are the monarchs debating on whether the dread gods should be able to reach Sacred Valley? Because we have the one monarch who, or maybe he's part of the 8-man empire or something, where he is like the king of the cultists, and he's trying to, do I have this right? He's trying to convince
that's
everybody.
Rhaegon
Shen. Yeah, he's the Lion King, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's trying to, like, do I have this right? He's trying to allow the dread god to get to Sacred Valley.
Yes, that is correct.
Why is this even a conversation? Why are they just like,
so
no.
You need to read the next book.
Okay.
And that's why Sacred Valley, I've told you, there's some mystic stuff going on there. There's stuff that's been put in place thousands of years ago. And there's a reason why Rhaegon wants them to go there, and there's a reason why the monarchs don't.
Okay.
Yeah. You just have to book 10, you'll kind of understand. Well, actually, book 10, you'll understand. Book 9, you get a precursor, but book 10, you'll know what's going on.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I think he's kind of trying to play it off a bit as well, as like, I think he says something along the lines of that the dread gods always kind of, they go looking for something and then they just keep wandering and then either give up or just like, oh, this isn't what I was looking for, and then kind of go, just change their minds, go somewhere else kind of thing. And he's kind of be like, just leave them, they'll wander off on their own. Eventually, we don't need to care about these like people in Sacred Valley kind of thing.
Okay. So yeah, that brings us to another interesting thing is Lyndon, does he channel a little bit of this dread god's Madra? Is that what happens? And he gets like a vision?
Yeah, so he does, he tries to absorb, he puts his hand on the Titan, right? That's in book 8.
Yeah.
And absorbs some memories. But what he's trying to he's trying to absorb its power, and it's all connected to Hunger Madra. And so whenever he absorbs, Dross will sort through memories, like when he absorbs the big red blood shadow, the brute blood shadow, whatever his name was. Crusher.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so yes.
And the dread god is like, I'm trying to go home.
Yeah.
And
and home is Sacred Valley.
Right.
Yes.
And so I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting, and I don't really know what to make of that.
No, you're good. You will though. You will.
Okay. Yeah, I liked Lyndon's whole like consume technique, where he learns from North Strider that, he sees North Strider like basically consume this big dragon, and that's how he advanced to Monarch. And so it's cool to see like Lyndon kind of learn this. He's kind of pulling abilities from all these different teachers and stuff. And I'm kind of interested to see where he ends up, because what path is he on? Like, he's on the Black Flame.
So path. One of his courses Black Flame, and then the other is the Path of the Twin Stars, which is a pure Madra path.
Okay, so what is that? What is a pure Madra path mean?
So that's tough. So Athan's path is also pure Madra, and pure Madra is not something that most people can cycle. It's not something that most paths are compatible with. And so like, man, that's hard to explain. Mick, if you know any more than me.
Is it to do with like the aura? Because say like fire Madra is easy to kind of
for Black Flame
because
to absorb,
yeah, because you can have destruction and fire aura. They're easy things to like come across, whereas pure Madra, I think it's hard to find things that have a pure aura, so it's hard to kind of link that way.
For sure. And like pure Madra is like very, very versed in canceling techniques, canceling out other Madra. And so that in and of itself is quite the power, because nobody else can really do that, right? Aethan's the only other person we know of that can throw Pure Madra at somebody and cancel out their abilities. That's like the empty palm is a Pure Madra technique. That's how they disrupt their channels with Pure Madra.
Okay.
Stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So then what is the whole void thing? Because we see at the end of the
Oh
book
yeah, dude. Yes.
where
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. I was waiting for this, dude.
I loved this scene with Ethan and Lyndon where like he gives them the medallion and I think it's blank or something, and they say something about a void. He's like the thing you did there, that was a void technique or whatever.
Void icon, the void icon.
Void icon, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And then Ethan like does something on it and it engraves the void symbol onto it, but it's also the symbol for being unsold.
Yeah.
So now does he have a third path, the path of like void?
No. So a sage, somebody that a sage is somebody that touches upon an icon, and so the sword sage Adana, he can touch upon the sword icon, and it's like another. I can't remember the way they describe it, but it's a they're connecting to like a power like outside of themselves, I guess.
Yeah.
But with his hunger arm, when he was in battle and he was doing that stuff, he was like so viciously trying to absorb stuff, like the void icon sprouted above him, which gives him a lot more power, and so that makes him a sage. So anybody that can touch an icon and have it manifest is a sage.
Okay, so sage isn't one of the hierarchies.
No. So sage is well, I think that, and maybe Mick, you might correct me, but I think you have to be overlord or archlord or herald. Well, yeah, overlord or archlord to be a sage to touch on the icon.
Yeah, Lyndon is the first underlord to become a sage.
So most, I think archlords, right, are the ones that can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they embody, like the sword sage embodied everything about what it meant to be kind of not a sword, but a sword kind of warrior. Whereas Lyndon is kind of embodying the void and that kind of, I guess
like endless hunger, endless black, like, yeah.
So now I'm curious, and this kind of loops back to the beginning of the book when they tell him that he's unsold. When they say that he was unsold, did they just not know what void was and he was actually like part of this whole void thing? Is that what unsold was?
So back then in the first book, they said he was unsold because he just didn't connect with the type of Madra. And that's because he used pure Madra. So he would never connect with anything that they had. And so their view of unsold is very skewed. It's not something that's true. It's just a falsity that they breed within their clan.
Yeah, it's like he didn't follow any of the particular paths
that
that
the paths
everyone
that
else
were laid out before, before him, the paths of everybody else, like the enforcer or warrior. He fell into a different category, and so when he did that whole water thing, it was like you're an unsold, but he's really wasn't unsold. So the void, the icons are not something that we get obviously until now, but they're just a much higher level thing, and you'll learn a little bit more about it, I think, in book 9. Yes, you will. You'll kind of it'll explain what manifesting an icon is and what it has to do with and why you can do it.
So in the beginning, so they tell him he's unsold and he's not able to connect to like any Madra, like was he just not able to find pure Madra there in Sacred Valley, and it wasn't until he left that he was able to connect to it? Because and here's the reason I ask is because he goes up to Heaven's Glory and he's kind of with Yaren over there, and even then he's having trouble like figuring out how to use any of these spells. And then around the end of book 2 or like the beginning of, or really it's into book 3, I think, where like he really starts like figuring out how to do stuff. And I'm like, so why was he not able to figure out, even if he is in like a different class, why was he not able to like feel that earlier on, I guess? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I personally think that it was just it was just because of the circumstances that he was living in. Like he mentally had been told his entire life, like you're unsold, you have no chance. You could become a scribe or whatever. You can do whatever. And so I just think that he didn't understand that wasn't true. And then when Yaren showed him, he's like, Unsold, there's no such thing. Like you're
Right.
smoked. Like everybody can do this. And that's when he like found the drive and like learned how to cycle correctly and learn how to like actually achieve what he wanted to. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think it's like lack of understanding that about the possibilities for it, that you just didn't know how to begin that path because he had never encountered it before, you know.
Because before Cyril came, he fully accepted that he was never ever going to be powerful. Never ever going to use magic like other people could. Fully accepted it. And then when Cyril came and he's like, wait, there's a lot more to this world than what my family has taught me, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to bounce back for a second. I have this thing written down that made me laugh out loud. And this is when Ethan is he's getting like pulled through the portal, and he's telling Lyndon all the stuff that he needs to do to like advance. He's like, you need to think about like this thing and like what is
think
your
about why
Madra?
you use the sacred arts and think about what
like what does your Madra mean to you and all this stuff. And he's going down like this big list. And if you listen to the audiobook, the narrator, Travis Baldry, he's like, you can tell the portal is closing because he's like saying the things faster and faster to get it out before the portal closes. And then finally, like it gets so fast, and he's like, remember to go to a barber, Lyndon, a barber. Your hair lacks volume, and then he's cut off by the portal. And I just did not expect that, and I laughed out loud so hard.
Dude,
when that happened. I was cracking up. It was great.
That was funny.
So cool.
And then so Lyndon and Yaren go on a date, and Mercy explicitly tells him, don't fucking talk about the sacred arts. Like just like be normal people for once. And what did they do? What did they do, Mick?
Well,
I think about the sacred arts.
Yeah, I think Yaren did though. Yaren's the one that brought it on. They get into that room, and then this big shot underlord's like, "Who, you know, you're gonna entertain me? Like, you go fight in the ring." And then they turn around, and they say Yaren, and everybody's like, "Oh, Uncrowned, holy crap."
Yeah.
They talk about fighting. And I was like, I think that Lyndon had every, like, you know, like his goal was every intention to not do that. But then like, no matter where they go, like they're fucking famous. Like Yaren's fucking famous. Like they're gonna get noticed. I don't know.
Yeah.
I still thought it was a cool date, dude. Like it was cute for them to get together, even though they didn't, you know, do what Mercy thought they were gonna do. It was still kind of a cool like slow down in the sense like they weren't just like actively like training, you know what I mean? Like just like out there fighting each other. Like they were like got dressed up and went to this place for dinner, yada yada yada, even though it ended up in them still being, you know, talking about fighting.
I'm like, I just want so badly for these people to have a life. Like just to have a life outside the sacred arts. I want so badly for them to talk about their favorite fucking animal. I don't know. Like it's just something besides the sacred arts. And then we get Little Blue. She combines with Lyndon's core and becomes a foot tall and more real. And so I thought that was kind of a cool moment. And I don't really have much to say about that. I just thought it was cool when that happened. And I'm excited to see if Little Blue gets more powerful and if she can do more stuff as the books go on.
Yeah, so I ever since he made a contract with Orthos to get Black Flame, I was always thinking, even the last like 4 books, I was like, why doesn't he do that with Little Blue? Because she's a spirit, he can make a contract with her and use her power, and they could share. And so I was like, when I first read it, I was like really stoked because I was like, this is what he needs. You know, this is how he's going to be able to sort this Madra that's coming in when he absorbs stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I think it was really good timing. But yeah, Little Blue's awesome, dude. Her little whistle chimes, my fucking favorite thing ever, dude.
I love that.
My favorite fucking thing ever.
And I love, there was this scene in this book where he like he like looks into like his pocket or something, and he sees her just like in there curled around like Serial's marble.
Yes, dude.
I thought that was so funny. She's just like sleeping like curled up to the marble. That's great.
Mick, when you do you listen? Sorry, really quick. Do you listen to the audiobook of these or just reading them?
Yeah, so I read them on Kindle up until Underlord, and I've been on the audiobook since. Yeah.
Cool. So you're gonna finish book 10 on the audiobook?
Yeah.
Okay, the bloopers. Listen to the bloopers at the end, and you'll know exactly this moment why I asked you to listen to the bloopers.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
You'll know exactly why.
I don't know if it's just something I thought of today actually when I was going through the recap. I was like, I wonder if Little Blue is actually a nod to like the Stormlight archive, because it's not really a spoiler, but like Kaladin, the main character, has a little blue
they're like the same
kind of
thing.
woman.
Oh, cool.
And her name is Syl, and like Little Blue is a Sylvan River Sea.
Yeah,
so
interesting. Interesting. That's cool.
Yeah, it's got to be a nod to that for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah. I can't wait for us to get into Stormlight Archive. I read the first like maybe 30% of Way of Kings, and I really liked it, but I had to move on to other stuff for the podcast. But I think like, especially if like reading Cradle now, I'm like, I think Gabe is gonna love Stormlight. I don't know.
Yeah.
The magic is like kind of similar in some ways, not all of the ways, but there's definitely some similarities.
Cool.
All right, so I saw somebody highlight the one about North Strider, and before we go into that, I want to mention because it goes with that, Yaren and Ruby combine, and they like, dude, that was the coolest scene. They combine, and like she like physically becomes different. Like she gets like a red streak in her hair, her eyes are red, and then like her blades are red. And they do that, and then they go directly from there out into the competition. They say go, and she just like cuts Saphira or whatever in half.
Saphira,
like in 2 seconds. I'm like, dude, that was so sick.
Dude.
Yeah, Northsider's like, hey, stop cycling before I say go.
Yeah, that's right. And he says, because you'll fucking destroy her. She won't even have a single chance, even though she doesn't all the time. But yeah, that was cool. And even Northstrider like recognizes that she's gonna fuck this chick up bad. Regardless of what happens here, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, do you want to talk about the note that you were highlighting?
Yeah. So the question is, why is Northstrider calling her an Overlord Herald? Why wouldn't combining with Ruby be an advancement like that? And the reason why is because she's the first ever Underlord to absorb her blood shadow or a remnant. To become a Herald, you have to Battle of Wills absorb your own remnant. That's how like Fury became a Herald. That's how the Blood Herald, whatever his name is, became a Herald.
Okay.
And so like she was like, they call in the later books they call her pseudo Herald, because she's like, she can't really be a Herald, but she is, because she absorbed her blood shadow.
And you're not supposed to be able to do that at that level.
It's never been done before ever. Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's why before the tournament, Northstrider's like, all right, we need some advice from the heavens. And the Hound comes down and says, it's game, let's go. Like everybody's good. But yeah, so she absorbed her blood shadow. The only other person to do that was the Blood Sage, but they of course split apart, right? Because you got the Blood Herald and the Blood Sage, and they're enemies. Well, not really enemies, but they're just different people.
Yeah.
Right.
And so she did it, and they are both working together, which makes her incredibly, insanely powerful.
Yeah, I liked the kind of advancement of like Ruby's character throughout this book, and like she showed some personality, and she became more like sentient and more real. And I enjoyed that a lot. I thought for a long time that there was just going to be 2 of them now. And so I thought it was kind of cool how he solved that with them just like combining.
Yep.
Well, we're coming down to the end of it. I guess one more thing we could mention is that Northstrider gave Yaren a 36-day pocket dimension where time stops. I just thought that was really cool. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that the magic could do that. It was pretty cool.
That's a peak of a soulsmith.
Nice.
Yeah, that would be handy. Could get through like 2 Stormlight books in that time.
Right? Yeah.
Right, exactly.
That'd be awesome.
Start on Monday and stop
Yeah.
on Tuesday. How awesome.
I wonder if you would have to eat while you're in there. Like, I wonder if, because it's only like an hour or
Dude,
like a day in the real world.
I feel like you wouldn't have to personally, but
Uh,
who knows though? Because they never say anything about that, so who knows?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I really liked the ending for Wintersteel. I thought it was by far the best ending for any of the Cradle books that I've read so far. It was just like, it was happy, like there was this big like climactic battle, and then they're all kind of like standing there at the end of the dock, and Yaren and Lyndon's castle comes down, and it's like combined into like one big fortress. And then like Ethan like brings his down, and it like connects to theirs.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the fuck, dude? We don't want you attached to our castle. And then like this other like little like smaller like very basic fortress comes down, and that's Zeal's. And Zeal was a cool character. We didn't talk about him much, but I thought that his backstory was interesting. How he's got, we've seen a couple characters so far that have like a damaged
Spirit,
soul or
soul,
spirit or whatever. And it's interesting to see how he's like stuck at he's at Underlord, right? He's stuck at Underlord.
He's stuck at Underlord. He was an Archlord before his soul was damaged, but yeah, he's stuck at Underlord, and he's got like extreme pain all the time. Like his soul just hurts so bad 24/7 because of the damage that was done.
Yeah. And Ethan has like kind of bargained with him and been like, I'll get you back to where you need to be. So I'm excited to see where his character goes. But I just like this ending. Yaren and Lyndon had their first kiss, and everybody was just kind of together. And Zeal asked I always love closing lines like this, just like when it's the very final thing. And Zeal's like, where are we going? And Lyndon just like looks up at the house and he says, home. And it's like a much needed kind of break from all the crazy stuff that they've gone through for the past 8 books. It just seemed like they can finally like take a breath and like chill for a minute.
Yes.
And so I really like that ending.
Not for too long.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. Not for too long.
Yeah.
Mick knows, he knows.
Compared to the ending to book 9, it's like that's probably the best ending of the books I've seen is book 9, and it's like
or the most
crazy.
Wholesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go into final thoughts, and I guess probably Mick might be able to answer this more than Gabe, but I guess Gabe could answer it too if you're thinking like the whole series. What do you guys think that we can expect from like the finale? Like, what are you guys looking forward to as far as like how this all wraps up, or like what you hope to see? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think Mick, since you're not as far, would probably be the better answer to that. Starting off anyways.
Okay.
Yeah. I think just from at the end of book 8, what my thoughts were like, basically now, how are they going to advance? And I have basically the thought that the Abaddon and the spatial stuff is going to come a lot more into play. I just trying to figure out how like Lyndon and Yaren and Ethan will actually play into that, if they will ascend or if the Abaddon come down to Cradle or what happens there. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how the greater scale of things comes into play.
Yeah,
I would say that's probably where I'm at too. Do you have any thoughts, Gabe, that are
no? I think yeah, after book 8, I think that's a great place to be in. That's what I would expect too. So
yeah, I'm excited to see how everything just kind of shakes out in the end, because I've read some things online, nothing that like spoiled me or anything. But people were saying that Will Wight has come out and said that he's wrapping up Cradle, and then he's going to do like another series for a little bit, and then at some point in the future it'll be like the next Cradle series, but it's like in the
different, yeah, because
like
I heard that book 12 was supposed to end this saga. right? Like it's yeah. So that'll be crazy when that happens.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that he was doing another saga with
I didn't
Cradle.
either. Yeah, I didn't either. I just know that
Oh,
book
wow.
12 is supposed to end this one and finalize this series. But how cool would that be, dude?
Yeah, because you have to imagine that like the next saga would
Oh,
be like
yeah.
with the Abaddon, because
Yeah.
if the layers, like if Cradle is just like the smallest world, the layers just keep going and going.
Yep.
So he could like infinitely build on this franchise. And you know, the everything that I've read from the Abaddons, it's all very sci-fi. Like I don't consider that
definitely.
like fantasy. It's all
Super.
like
Yeah.
like that is like technology that they're using, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, you have to imagine that if he goes on to the next series, it would be like, you know, lasers and, you know, like the crazy kind of like tech swords that she's got behind you, Gabe, and stuff like that. And so I'm
yeah, and he writes so quickly as well that it
mhm.
probably won't even take too long to even get that new series.
Right.
Awesome.
Right.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, we are wrapping up. What are we reading this next week?
Galaxy's Edge, baby.
Galaxy's Edge.
I'm gonna finish it, dude. I'm there.
Nice. What about you, Mick?
Yeah, I'm gonna finish out Cradle and hopefully finish Deadhouse Gates too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to, unless my what's the third First Law book? Is that Before They're Hanged, or is that the Wisdom
Last
of
Argument?
Crowds? Last Argument of Kings. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if that comes up on my Libby, then I'll probably read that. But there was another one. And the shitty thing is just before this podcast, I was like, I should write it down because I'm gonna forget. And then I was like, no, I won't forget. God, I feel like such a piece of shit right now.
Okay, dude.
Yeah, if I remember, I'll put it in the video there for our viewers at home. But yeah, I did have something planned for this next week. It was something that I've been meaning to read for a while. But yeah, I'm excited to. I think for the podcast, one of our next videos is going to be Elantris, because we gotta hop back into the Cosmere soon.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun to hop into Elantris, and then Warbreaker. I think Bookborn will be joining us for Warbreaker.
Nice.
Cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Have you read them both already, or?
I have read, I've read Elantris and Warbreaker. Gabe has read Warbreaker, but not Elantris.
Okay, yeah.
And so then after we're gonna do Elantris, Warbreaker, and then jump right into Stormlight. And I think it's after Stormlight book 2 that we can read Arcanum Unbounded, right?
Yes, yeah. There's only one Stormlight kind of novella in there, and I think it's after book 2. Yeah, you can read that one.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. Well, this was a ton of fun. Thank you for joining me for this. I'm glad we're finishing up with literally minutes to spare. I've been watching I've been watching the clock as we go along, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna land like right on time for once.
Once, yeah.
And I think that worked really well, knowing that we have to be done at this time and just kind of like being able to watch the clock and push forward at a certain pace. I think that helped a lot. So I'm glad you'll be getting to work on time today, Mick.
I wish I didn't have to go, but
I know. I know how it goes. I got to get up tomorrow morning and go to work.
Yeah.
Also, dude, your first episode as an official co-host. This was great.
Yeah.
So super excited. We'll definitely be in contact as far as like what the next episode that you'd like to be on for is, and bring you on for an interview. And if there's an author that you would like to interview, like we can set up an episode with them or whatever.
Yeah, George R.R. Martin would be good.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll just reach
I'll
out
text
to him.
him. Yeah, I'll text him.
Pencil him in. Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, I'll definitely call in sick to work that day.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that is going to wrap us up there. As always, you can follow us on Twitter, Discord, and now Patreon, linked in the description below. And hitting the like and subscribe buttons helps out the channel a lot. And now we turn the conversation over to you. Let us know what you think of the first 8 books of Cradle series. Is this one of your favorite series, or did it not quite work for you? Let us know in the comments on YouTube, or reach out on any of the platforms listed before. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and until next time, I'll be praying that Lyndon picks up a hobby or something for the sanity of us all.
Unlikely.
Yeah,
Yep.
unlikely. That'll be the name. That'll be the name of like the last book. Instead of like Unsold, it'll be Unlikely.
Unlikely. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And a big shout out to our first Night Angel tier patron, Shad Zaman. Thank you so much, man.